Hi, I'm Paul Irving, Product Development Manager for BPD Zenith, and this is the Love Your Asset Dashboards application. From here, we can see an overview of the asset's health for your organisation. They're grouped together in different cards along the top, and this shows different groups of assets. This one is air quality monitors, and we can see that we've got two different locations here with air quality monitoring for an office and a reception. The individual health scores are shown on there as well as an overall average score for that group. Underneath here, we can see a breakdown by whether they're healthy, warning, or unhealthy into different groups. In the center, we can see a map, and this map actually can be updated by updating the location of the assets themselves. So that's in the configuration application or through IoT sensors with GPS coordinates. From here, we can click into an individual sensor to view it in more detail, an individual asset, or we can click on the map and that'll show us the asset that we've selected on the map. Today we're actually going to look at the motors group, and here we've got two sensors that are both running quite well. When we click into this asset, we can see it's got an overall health score of 99. That's made up from two different sensor scores. The sensors are temperature in degrees and vibration in millimeters. In this case, both of those have got a 50% weighting. So the health score for the sensor, being 98% and 100%, averages out at 99%, and that gives us our overall score. We can set these weightings to be different. They don't have to be equal measures. You could have more dependent on the temperature or more dependent on the vibration. So today, the reason that I'm showing you this one is because we actually had a breakdown today, and I'm going to show you how we can identify that. If we click on the Sensors tab, you can actually see the current readings for the temperature and the vibration sensors, and we can click into them to see their history. So as we click into that one, we see the temperature for this morning was sitting at around 51 degrees and actually rose over the half an hour to an hour right up to 103 degrees. Now this motor has a cutout at 100 degrees. So what happened there was that it stopped running, and you'll see that it slowly comes back down before it goes under the threshold of 60, which is when we're allowed to start the motor running again. And then you can see that it's currently sitting at around 61 degrees. The sensor history can show you the last day, week, month, or year, and it can show you the last number of readings as well. You can do the same in the Asset Health tab with the time period and the readings in there. I'm just going to show you the vibration as well. So the vibration today was sitting at around 15, but rose up to get up into the kind of mid-20s, so 23, 24, 25, before coming right the way down to 0 when it was turned off, and then rising again once it was turned back on to sit at about the optimal 15. So let me show you the configuration application. This application is where you do all the setup for how the readings turn into a health score. I can click on my group, the motors group for example, and expand each of the sensors. This is where I can change the weightings to say that temperature is more important or vibration is more important, but it also allows me to set lower limits and boundaries, upper limits and upper boundaries. Now all this means is what is the optimal running temperature or vibration for this individual sensor. We've said in this example, anything up to 60 degrees is 100% health. Between 60 and 110, you're going to see that decrease as it gets higher and higher. So as the temperature increases, the health score will decrease. Anything over 110 will give us a 0% score. So as you get up to that 103, you're probably going to see that being 5, 6 on the temperature, on the health score. If you wanted to, you could also set lower boundaries, and all that would do is decrease as it gets towards the lower limit, and then anything under the lower limit would be 0. For the vibration, we did do that. We did an upper boundary of 15 and an upper limit of 25. So you'll see the health score fall as it gets more closer to 25. But we also wanted it to give a 0 score if the machine is turned off and not vibrating at all. And so what we did there was add in a lower boundary and a lower limit of 1, just to account for that. The assets in the motors group they change depending on the group that you've chosen on here, but we can expand one of these to actually view information about that asset. So we see a copy of the sensors for this individual asset and the readings that they've got. And as we click between the assets, you'll see those change. This gives us the last reading and the last reading date. And we can also see a unique ID. So this is used to update using external systems such as Pi, SCADA, REST requests, JSON requests, anything MQTT coming in. And all you need to do, we've tried to make this really simple, is pass in the unique ID and a value. And that will tie to each one of these individual sensors, so that the unique ID is different for each of the different assets and the sensors. You can also pass in the last reading date and the person who took the reading, or the name of the system that took the reading, if that's going to be useful to you. But they're optional extra fields. So we also have a unique ID for the location. And all you have to do is pass in the longitude and latitude, and that will update it and automatically update it on that map as well. We can put manual sensor inputs in as well if we need to. If it's a system where you only go and measure it once a day, or you need to override something, then you can enter them into there. What we've got on here as well is the notification setup. So we can say we do want to be notified if this asset's health score falls below 75, or if it exceeds a certain value. So we have this set to 100 because it'll never go over 100, and we don't want to be notified of it going up the way. But some people will be using this system to measure the opposite way around. So in the dashboards application itself, we can go to the scoring baseline. And this has us set up the ranges. So we've set this up so that anything between 80 and 100 is classed as healthy. Anything between 50 and 80 is classed as a warning, and anything from 0 to 50 is unhealthy. You can add in more ranges in here, and you can change the limits so that it goes from 0 to 75, for example. We can change the colors and the icons that are associated with that. And all that'll do is update the dashboards application so that anything that's now between 75 and 80, it was previously showing as a warning, it's now going to be showing as healthy. So some people will have unhealthy being their top end, and so we give them the option to also be notified. Notifications will come by email and can also come by SMS. Those will be set up in your profile, so you can provide it with an SMS. You also have your email address as your username, and then you can set in things like time zones, a snooze between alerts as well. So if that's fallen below 75, you might not want to receive an update every time it recalculates that health score and it's below 75. Once you've had it once, maybe you don't want to receive it for another hour or maybe 2 hours. And you can limit the number of emails and texts you get per day as well. From here, you can also run reports. And this will allow you to, for example, let's look at the air quality monitors. We can see how the health score has changed over the past 30 days, past 7 days, and then the current score as well. So this is taking an average for those days and showing them on a graph. And you can schedule these reports, you can export them, you can have them sent to email addresses on certain days by clicking the recurring button and choosing to send it every certain amount of hours, weeks, days, or on certain days of the year. You can also export all the unique IDs from there as well, just so you don't have to click into each individual asset and each group. If you're going to be mapping from one system to another, then you can get it all from there. So back to the dashboard and our motor in question that had the failure. We can see on here the failure in, if we zoom in, we can see how that kind of played out in the overall health. So now we know how our health scores for these sensors are measured. We know that as the readings for the vibration increased, the health of the vibration sensor actually decreased. And that comes down to hover below 1 to 11, along those from about 10:40 a.m. But the health of the asset itself starts to decrease with the vibration score, but doesn't actually get low until the temperature has also fallen. So this might be when someone would notice it. Obviously, when the motor cuts out, someone has to go, wait for it to cool down, and then start it back up again. But we want to monitor that and get to it before the temperature starts getting out of control, because that is, in the end, what is causing our downtime. So on our configuration application, we need to make sure that we're setting our notify at the right level. So as the vibration starts to increase, we see the health score fall to 90. That might be too early. That might cause us a lot of notifications, but you can change them and play around with them. And so we could do it at 80, because the temperature still hasn't started rising above 60 degrees at this point. It's still within its operating ideal, and it doesn't actually fall until the vibration is right down at 1. So this is where we can choose to set our boundaries so that we know what's the best time to get alerted about it, give us enough time to actually go and correct things. Here we've got a spike of the vibration actually going back into its ideal temperature, right back up to 50. And the only reason that that's happened is because the vibration, as the machine stops, it's gone from the 25 back down to 1. And it's gone within its ideal range during that time. Okay. The only other thing to mention is this button on here for the bulk uploader tool. So you can download that, and it downloads a file which opens in Excel. And this actually allows you to populate the This allows you to populate the groups, assets and sensor definitions in the configuration application from Excel. So that allows you to do it all from an Excel sheet. You can type in your username and password and connect. There's some information about how to use it, and there's also an about sheet with more information on there as well. The groups themselves, you can either download or upload. So if I was to click download and connect it to my system name and password, then it'll populate all my existing groups in here. As I click onto assets, we'll get the existing assets, and we can change that to be upload. So if we've got our new assets in the list, we can upload them. And again, we can do the same with the sensor definitions. And that gives you the full control, especially if you've got a lot of assets and a lot of sensors. We would expect you to use a kind of bulk uploader tool for that. If you hover over any of the labels, it gives you a bit more of a description. It gives you any limitations to field sizes and that sort of thing as well. Okay, and that's basically it for the Love Your Asset dashboards. Thank you.